Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, as week 3 of the election campaign drew to a close and you were contemplating week 4, how many of you thought Sunak would seek to turn his fortunes around by upsetting Conservative Party donors? No, me neither. Yet, as Sunak was returning from the G7 meeting, where he left the election tomfoolery to his cabinet colleagues for a few days, this is exactly what he did. He was due to attend a fundraising dinner later this week where people have paid £1,500 a head in order to turn up, get fed, sure, but listen to Rishi Sunak speak. Now, I'm going to be generous and assume that this dinner was arranged before the election was called. I'm sure that's the case. I cannot imagine that too many people with that much money burning a hole in their pocket would feel that the best way to spend it is to listen to a Prime Minister once Parliament is dissolved and a few weeks before everyone knows the government is changing. That being said, some are apparently asking for refunds. So maybe some do still want to listen to him for some reason. Why would anyone pay that much money to listen to Rishi Sunak? Well, the obvious answer is usually in order to hear what he has to say about his government's policy in an exclusive setting. Might help your business or investment decisions to learn something useful, which is the charitable way of looking at it. The less charitable way is to consider that some ticket holders may want to lobby the Prime Minister directly, even though there wouldn't be time for many to have done so. But they don't apply now. 2.5 weeks before the election, with Sunak looking increasingly like he might need help to avoid a nervous breakdown, this morning he was saying that Britain is on the right track. The most recent news is that unemployment is rising, NHS waiting lists are rising, and the economy flatlined in April. If that's the right track, I mean, thank goodness we're not on the wrong one. Unless, of course, Sunak was referring to the fact that all indications point to a Labour government, in which case, OK, sure, we're on the right track. But I'm not sure that's what he meant. I suppose another reason for attending a gala dinner fundraiser like this is, even if they're not in government or they're not going to be in government, it's still a way of keeping in the Conservatives' good books, so that when they do get into power again, they'll remember that you've been very generous and you've supported them during their dark times. But even that isn't explained well here, because Rishi Sunak is not going to be part of that rebuilding project. You could imagine once they've settled on a new leader, maybe some will come back. But at the moment, that doesn't make sense either. And there's reports that the Conservatives have been struggling for donations. It's not like their war chest is full. Understandable that they'd been struggling for donations during the campaign. Consider the problem Sunak has in raising campaign money during the campaign. First of all, he's going to lose. That makes it difficult for any party to raise funds. There's not a lot he can do in terms of kickbacks right now, and he's going to be able to do nothing at all after the election. You know, there are people and organisations, I have to say, who very genuinely donate to what they think is a good cause, but even those might reduce the figure a bit if it looks like it's like a complete waste. There are plenty of people, however, who donate expecting some sort of return from it, selfishly. Now, this can be just a belief that the party represents the best interests of their business, so nothing corrupt about it. But it could be a completely corrupt, expecting a quid pro quo public contract or some other favour or fiddle which is worth more financially than the donation. But these donors have zero motivation to donate to a party that is definitely going to lose. They can easily come back in a couple of years if they want to get back into the new leadership's good books, just in case they can mount a serious challenge for the next election. But right now, no point, they're going to lose. You can't rule out the odd one being thick enough to think maybe they've got a chance, and then I'll have been one of their few friends, and they'll be really generous to me. But there can't be many that are that thick. Second issue, I keep seeing reports that the person Sunak appointed to raise funds is a bit rubbish. So all other things being equal, they're not bringing in as much because the person whose job it is to rattle the donation tin isn't getting in their faces. Now, I can tell you, as a former scout who spent many a night outside of supermarkets or fairs collecting for charity, you notice there's 3 types of people. There are those who will donate if you just stand there like a lemon with your bucket in hand. They'll come over to you, they'll put money in it. Thank you very much. There are those, and you can see them, they're going to stare forwards and just charge straight past you. Regardless of what you do, you're getting nothing from them. But then there are those who aren't quite sure. They don't really want to, but they can be shamed into donating if you just ask them. The difference between really raising donations and not is the asking in order to get that third type on board. So right now, the Conservatives are not giving people reason to donate, other than maybe to return a favour or because they just genuinely support the party, perhaps to stop it being taken over by the far right after the election. That brings in so much, but it doesn't bring in enough. And so the idea of actively annoying party donors by pulling out of attendance of a big gala fundraising dinner at the last minute. He didn't announce this when they announced the campaign. He didn't announce it when various TV debates were announced, because that's what's caused the clash, apparently. But even though Rishi Sunak says, oh, sorry, I've got a TV debate that night, the organiser said he only had to turn up for half an hour. It's not a big deal. This seems a suboptimal strategy. I do wonder what the strategic thinking behind this stroke of genius was. Saying it's to attend a TV debate instead, it's like, no, that only takes up so much time. And also, let's face it, the TV debate's not going to help him win votes back. I mean, we've already seen that so far, haven't we? A more charitable tactical thought is that it could make Sunak look bad to turn up at one of the most exclusive clubs in the country for a swanky dinner where people had to pay £1,500 to eat. But I would suggest this gala dinner would not even shift the dial. Rishi Sunak attends opulent fundraising dinner is not something that's going to get people to think differently about Rishi Sunak, right? Anyone still thinking of supporting the Tories is not going to change their mind as a result of this. For most people, all it is a posh dinner of the sort all serious political parties put on in order to elicit donations. And besides, if it's on the same night as a TV debate, then that's what the news is going to be about the next day. It's not going to be about a fundraising dinner. And it's quite clear that Sunak himself has no shame about the event. After all, it's still going on. They need the money. It's still going on. He's just decided to make it harder to get any follow-up donations by snubbing the event itself. I think it would be easier to imagine that Sunak was avoiding the event in order to block another attempt by Labour to paint him out as touch, if there was anything that Sunak had done in this campaign which had made strategic sense. I mean, still questionable political advice is everywhere. Although we're used to the idea of top politicians getting good strategic thinkers in their team, it is amazing how often they get people in with brainworms. Thank goodness Labour are not following this trend right now. For example, one former Conservative advisor had some advice for Keir Starmer. He said Starmer should take up Farage on his offer of a one-to-one debate in order, he said, to deliver a proper Tory wipeout. Everyone with a brain essentially replied, "Are you mental?" The best analogy was from a politics professor, also called Phil, who described it as being the equivalent of taking the Ming vase and trying to fight a bull with it. This references the fact that Labour are being ultra cautious because, having built up their massive lead, they've been very careful to do anything to slip up at this stage. Labour's campaign has been described as carrying a Ming vase across a highly polished floor. So yes, debating with Nigel Farage, not wise. Absolutely not wise. Why would they volunteer to platform Farage when there's no reason to do so, no justification to do so? But then this was Theresa May's polling advisor during the general election in which she pissed away a small majority. Wasn't entirely his fault, I'm sure, but still, it's not great credentials for arguing that Keir Starmer should do mental stuff. So, in terms of a quick recap, the polls are not narrowing. The poll gap is remaining the same, but there's more technical widening than narrowing. When you look under the bonnet, Labour and Starmer's figures are getting stronger. If you look at the individual components of polling, like, best in a head-to-head, best on this policy, best on that policy. Stronger for Starmer and Labour, weaker for Sunak and the Tories. Sunak is spending his fourth week of the campaign annoying donors when his war chest already has plenty of space in it. Is anyone else waiting with bated breath to see what he's saving up as his most genius tactical move during the last week of the campaign? I can't wait. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.